Video games used to be very difficult. Elden Ring and Dark Souls are commended for and unique because of their difficulty. But there was a time when games had to be hard in order to create longevity and produce profits. In the arcades, video games had to ride the line between being fun, but just hard enough that people would have to continue to invest in order to continue. But even when games started to come home, the arcade difficulty was adapted to the home consoles. At first, it was out of tradition and a desire to keep things consistent, but eventually it was a way to make consumers and gamers feel like they got their money's worth. If you completed a game in a single sitting, you sort of felt cheated. So again, developers had to ride that line between rewarding and difficult. And I think we just dealt with difficult games as being the normal. So we didn't get so upset about encountering a hard section of a particular game, or only making it a little bit further every time we played. I mention all of this because there is one 7800 game that embodies this idea for myself, and that game is Xevious. It's a game that I've had since my childhood, but I've struggled with it more than any other title on the 7800. Well, Karateka is hard, but I think I still give the nod to Xevious. So the question is Xevious riding that line of difficulty and fun? Or did it fall into the realm of being no fun because of its high difficulty? Well, let's find out together, shall we? Xevious was released in November of 1986, and it was developed by GCC and published by Atari. It was one of only 2 games to be released in the same year as the console that wasn't necessarily a launch title, the other game being Galaga. Now, this information about the release timelines is a best guess, and it's thanks to many people looking into the topic, reading magazine articles from the time, and reading the comments of the people involved with the 7800. But regardless, this game was one of the more ambitious early titles on the console, as a shoot-'em-up of this quality was something we wouldn't see for quite some time later. The title screen is pretty basic, and will be familiar if you've played any of the other early GCC published games, such as Desert Falcon. You can pick between 4 difficulty levels, but honestly, the difference feels, a bit negligible to me. That is to say that Novice, it doesn't feel very easy at all. The game is known to be hard, brutally so in my experience. I have awful skills at this game, and it's thanks to the unforgiving enemy patterns and a massive array of enemy bullets and mines that come out of nowhere at certain times. If you want to get good at Xevious, you better be ready to spend the time with it. But luckily for us, this game is really solid, so spending that time can be very enjoyable. You have 2 control options, one for single-button joysticks and one for 2-button controllers. In single-button mode, the button shoots your forward-facing bullets, as well as drops the bombs to the ground. But in 2-button mode, each button performs just one of these functions, and I really recommend using a 2-button controller. Dropping bombs and shooting is integral to the game, and you need to get good at anticipating where the ground enemies will be, as they not only move in chaotic patterns at times, but they can also accelerate quickly and take chaotic turns, meaning you either have to know exactly what they'll do by trial and error, or just be really good with your reflexes. Not to mention that it takes a second for the bombs to reach the ground, so you'll need to be exact on the reticle and its positioning. The gameplay is great, and you have every tool needed to get the job done, but as I said before, Xevious is hard. That's because enemies will come at you in waves and attack at optimal times. They tend to lull you into a false sense of safety before taking aim and darting off the screen, so make sure that you're ready to maneuver away at all times. Xevious can be quite frustrating, but if you stick with it, you'll eventually have this magical run where it all comes together and you make it further than you ever thought you would have. And that's enough to have you chasing that dragon again and again for hours thereafter. It's an addictive game, and it's absolutely worth playing and experiencing on the Pro System. Visually, it's an awesome early title with nice looking and colorful backgrounds. The color of the ground can be, a little weird in places, as what I used to assume was water when I was a child appears to actually be grass. The coloring is just a bit off, but The 7800 can be finicky in how it displays such things, so this is forgivable in my opinion. The enemies range from simple circle-shaped things to cool-looking enemy ships. And of course you have the massively intimidating mothership that flies in to squash you with its immense firepower. But like many other 7800 games, what's most impressive is just the number of enemies and things on the screen with no flicker or slowdown in sight. This game is just amazing looking for the system, especially when you take inventory of all the bullets and ships flying onto the screen and shooting at you from the ground. It even goes beyond what other launch titles like Food Fight and Asteroids did because of the colored scrolling backgrounds and environments. The game looks good, especially given that it was one of the first 9 or so titles on the console. And the sound is impressive as well for a 7800 game. The title screen is all too quiet, but every life greets you with a fun and adventurous tune that soon gives way to a melodic background sound, and a flurry of bullets coming at you from every which way. Given that the stock TIA chip is doing all of the heavy lifting, I really find this sound to be, well, impressive. The background music feels like it should get on my nerves, especially when mixed with the sounds of the bullets and bombs. But if I'm honest, it just doesn't. At least, it doesn't for me. I really like the way this game sounds. And I can't tell if it's just nostalgia or if it's really that good. But honestly, I don't care. I like it, and that's all that matters, I suppose. Beyond high score chasing, there are also a few secret pyramids to find by running your reticle all over the screen until it turns red. If it turns red when there is nothing there, then you found one, and dropping a bomb will expose said pyramid. It's pretty cool the first time you accidentally discover one, but I'm still not fully sure of their purpose. And that's because I only ever found one, and it was completely at random. But somebody during a live stream, well, they started to tell me about it, and ever since then I've been on the lookout. And it adds yet another thing to do in an already solid game. Personally, I really enjoy and respect Xevious, but there's only one major flaw I can levy against it. I've already mentioned it several times, but it's the difficulty. This game is hard as nails. Even for an era of notoriously hard video games, this one stands out in my mind. As a child, I could never make it further than a few minutes into the game, and as an adult, I don't do much better. You have to be willing to spend the time with Xevious if you want to see the cool eagle background elements, and even something beyond the first mothership. So with all that said, well, let's take Xevious into the devious pros and cons section, and see if it can achieve us a good, scorious. Okay, well, I thought it would be easier to rhyme with Xevious, but anyway, let's check out the good and the bad with Xevious. For the pros, the game plays extremely well, and has you covered whether you're still rocking a single-button joystick or if you have something newer with a few buttons. On top of that, it looks really good, especially for being a very early title on the console. And it even sounds really good, which is rare for games on the Pro system. I really like having the ability to fight on 2 planes, in the air and on the ground, and it adds a nice layer to the gameplay. There can be tons of enemies and bullets on the screen as well, with little to no slowdown or flicker. The game is just really fun, if you have what it takes to enter the battle. But we're flying into the cons, and I only really have 2 to mention, one minor and one that could be possibly major. First, the colors can be, well, really weird at times. Nothing major, but it did throw me off at first. But more importantly, the game can be hard. Very hard. And this difficulty might turn off some soft gamers. But if you're ready for the challenge, this game has a lot of replay value to offer you. So with all that said, I'm going to give Xevious for the Atari 7800 4 Pro-Line controllers out of 5. This game is excellent and a must-own in my opinion. As long as you can handle the heat, that is. And how fortuitous that this game is pretty widely available right now. As of me writing this script, I've found copies on eBay for under $30 shipped, if you want complete in box, and for about $20 for cartridge only. At this price, it's hard not to pick this game up, especially because it's 7800 plus compatible. So give it a go if you've never tried it before. You might be pleasantly surprised. But you've all heard what I've had to say about Xevious. Now I want to hear from all of you. Have you played this game before? Do you agree with my score? And do you think it compares favorably to other versions of the game? Do you think it's worth picking up for the asking price? let me know your thoughts on all this and anything else about the game in the comments down below. And please subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. This is small steps, but it really helps us little YouTube channels more than you could ever know. And please check out my other videos on Atari 7800 shoot 'em ups, where I definitely didn't forget to cover Xevious. Yup, definitely didn't forget about it. I meant to give it its own video all along. And do me a big favor and check out my podcast co-host over at Big and Funky Productions for more Atari 7800 coverage. The man has been covering the system for 20 years and runs the amazing Atari7800forever.com. So show him some love, would ya? Okay, that's it for me, guys. I've been the 7800 Pro Gamer, a man who thought he was really good at video games until he tried to live stream Xevious and got embarrassed for everybody to see on webcam. And I'd still like to thank you all for watching. And until next time, remember to stay classy, Atarians.